it good yet?
Yes.
Okay, let's break this question down. What exactly makes Cyberpunk a better game now than when it launched in December of 2020? Here are 9 key improvements that have transformed Cyberpunk. Okay, number 1, the content updates. These 3 updates have rolled in steadily every few months, and the biggest one came in February of this year, and this was update 1.5, otherwise known as the Apartments update. It added 4 very detailed new apartments for you to rent. These range from a seedy motel you can imagine operates a strictly cash-only policy, to a luxurious high-rise apartment situated in the heart of the city. The more expensive ones have some incredible views, and even the sound design here is amazing as you listen to the sounds of the city way down below. There's almost a sort of ASMR element to this, like, you know those videos, the 5 hours of futuristic city ambience to fall asleep to? It's like that, but you won't be interrupted by an ad for Deliveroo. Inside your apartment you can take a shower, drink some coffee, have a nap, and doing all that gives you character buffs as a result. It's just good to have a nice space to yourself, and it adds a bit of immersion that was kind of missing before. The Apartments update also adds the ability to customize your starting apartment with a range of lovely color schemes, which helps it make it feel a bit more different and more personal to you. But to be honest, who needs that hole in the wall when your new apartment has a full-size pool table? I'm never going back. Another freebie that's made Cyberpunk vastly better is the ability to customize yourself. This was also part of the Apartments update, and it lets you change your hair, your makeup, your piercings, and more as often as you like. Just head to any mirror in any apartment you own to do this. This is a huge addition in itself, not having to be stuck with the same look for hundreds and hundreds of hours. And for me, it's kind of weird this was an overlooked feature by the devs for so long. Now, I will say that you can't change everything. You're still stuck with the same body type and gender that you selected at the start of the game, which doesn't really make sense to me. This is meant to be the future. Like, I can have metal eyes and cyber arms, but I can't be a woman. But if you're playing on PC, at least there are mods that let you change that. But by default, the character customizer that CD Projekt Red added also adds some extra hair and makeup and piercing options that weren't there at the start of the game. So it's worth having a browse through that if you're even the slightest bit discontent with how you look currently. Okay, as well as the content updates, or you know, the updates that add new stuff to the game, the devs have also rolled out loads of patches since launch that have addressed hundreds upon hundreds of glitches and performance issues that used to plague Cyberpunk. They fixed quests that used to be unplayable due to characters freezing, weird lighting bugs, crashes to desktop, that sort of thing, and the game as a result is much more stable right now, and it's always getting more stable. It actually feels polished now. I'm going to use the word polished rather than feeling like it's being held together by duct tape. I'll give you a few examples of what's in the patch notes, and I'm quoting from the patch notes here. So, we fixed an issue where roads after rain did not look wet. Fixed an issue where players' cars could get stuck between a blockade and a guardrail, preventing them from returning to the car and blocking progress. Corrected the height of a charged jump. Fix an issue where you will no longer get stuck in a falling animation when crashing a motorbike while you also have the rock perk activated. Very specific there. So that kind of shows you the sheer amount of things that can potentially go wrong in a game world this complex. And the fact there are so many fixes means you're much less likely to encounter glitches like this when you play Cyberpunk in 2022. Next up, the devs have also added new mechanics into the game. These tend to be quietly bundled in alongside patches, but some of the mechanics they add are genuinely game-changing. One of my favourites is the improvement to the driving model, which is so far-reaching, it's even got its own name, Burnout Mode. In Burnout Mode, you hold gas and brake at the same time to engage it, and this lets you do donuts, drifts, and even heat up the tyres to do drag race style launches. The old driving model was way more basic than this, so the devs basically had to reinvent how all of the driving works in the game, and you really can feel it while you're driving around. So, I mean, if you hit the brake with the gas applied as you're going around a corner, your car will start to oversteer in a much more realistic way, and you can use this to pull off drifts and cool little skids around corners. There's also a new braking system that's way more consistent and believable, meaning your car won't suddenly veer out of control while you're braking. All of the vehicles in the game are altered by these new mechanics, and driving around Night City, it just feels way more fun and way more rewarding now. I don't know if you played it at launch, but Cyberpunk for me, it used to feel really arcadey and light in terms of driving, but the cars now, at the very least, they feel like actual cars. Okay, let's talk the city simulation. This is one of my favorite parts of Cyberpunk. And by city simulation, I mean crowd reactions, how the traffic works, how convincing the AI is, and all that sort of stuff. And again, courtesy of a few patches, the devs have really gone to town here. And I'll give you an example of the minor car crashes. Now, when there's a collision, vehicles have a wider range of reactions, so they might speed off in fear, they might back up, they might safely try and navigate around the blockage very responsibly, or the driver might just straight get out of their car and run for the hills. It makes the world feel that much more alive, this diversity of reactions. Every person is an individual rather than a hive mind that acts the same way every time. In the same way, pedestrians also act a bit more unpredictable. So if you start a fight in the street, they used to just all flee as a sort of flock of people. Now though, some of the braver ones will actually try and fight you. It doesn't end well for them obviously, but at least it's different. As well as that, crowds and communities are now more diverse during both the day and the night, so you won't see the same NPC repeated 3 or 4 times. And in terms of what you'll hear, patches have added way more variety in conversations in terms of what NPCs say, and that goes across all districts. And as well as that, there are better crowd reactions, pathfinding, despawning, and all that sort of stuff, which basically means NPCs won't run into a wall or disappear in front of your eyes, which sounds ridiculous, but it did used to happen. So Night City is a vastly more organic, rich open world to just explore and play around in. Another way Cyberpunk is a better game now is with a new type of mission the devs have added for free, and these are called Fixer Gigs. Essentially, you now have these mission givers called Fixers all throughout Night City. Each Fixer has a sort of quest line, and completing all the gigs for a specific Fixer will earn you a special reward from that Fixer. So this might be a powerful new weapon or a cool bit of gear, something like that. New Fixer gears will start to appear the more you complete, which gives you the sense that your respect in the city is building, and that you're getting a reputation for yourself, which I really like. You even have a standing with your Fixer, so you can check on that by hovering over the icon on the map screen and looking at your completed gigs. So these Fixer missions add some meaningful content to the game, giving you something extra to do if you're not feeling the campaign missions or the cyber-psycho stuff or the vehicle retrieval. And they're integrated into the game world too. They're not just some random side missions the dev threw in there, which is great. Additions like this, you can really tell CD Projekt Red have really put time and effort into, and they have a noticeable effect on the game. Another reason I really recommend playing Cyberpunk in 2022 are the mods. This game is massively popular with modders and has an incredibly active mod scene, meaning you could easily download a different mod every day and have a completely different experience. Mods are of course only a PC thing, so I won't spend too much time on mods, but I will list a few of the best ones you can grab right now. And one of the mods I really like is the third person mod by Jelly Backer. I've covered this before in a few previous videos, but it adds a third person camera so you can actually see the character you put so much work into customizing. It instantly makes Cyberpunk feel like a totally different game. And you can customize the camera too, so you can have an over-the-shoulder view for a sort of third-person Resident Evil 4 style action game. You can have a more zoomed out GTA style view where you can see more of the city, or even a way more zoomed out view that's more like Super Mario Odyssey. Because sometimes, you don't really want to be seeing the world through the eyes of your character constantly, and I find it's actually easier for me to play Cyberpunk for long stretches from the third-person view rather than the first-person, because first-person can sort of feel a bit intense at times, and sometimes you just do want to take a step back and play the game from a new perspective. Now, obviously the animation, as you can see, it needs a bit of work. Vaulting over obstacles looks a bit weird. Turning left to right will twist your character's back like a pretzel, and you can't fire your guns in third person either, because when you get your guns out, you just revert back to first person, but you can almost guarantee future modders will address these problems. They always do. Continuing on the topic of mods making Cyberpunk a way better game to play in 2022, check out the Grappling Hook mod by Perfectly Normal Beast. This adds an alternate way to get around the city for those bored by running, driving, or getting the train. Just look at any object you see and press forwards and you'll grapple straight towards it, getting a huge burst of speed. And while you're flying towards that object, look at another object and you press forwards and then you'll swing right to that one, and you can sort of chain together moves. It takes a while to get used to, but the learning curve means that once you've got the hang of it, you can really use the grappling hook to navigate the city in style. You can customize the properties of your grappling hook too, so you can make it even longer in order to grapple onto faraway buildings, or you can turn it into a rope with no grapple properties whatsoever. And by that I mean you can swing off your rope, but it won't zoom you towards things. So there are lots of ways you can play with this mod. I should say that the grappling hook and the rope themselves are invisible. You won't be able to see them because, I mean, I guess it would be pretty hard to implement a three-dimensional and fully physics-enabled object in this game, but you start to overlook that fairly quickly. As well as that, it functions a bit weird in third-person view because there aren't any animations, so your character kind of just runs straight through mid-air. But hey, stay in first-person and it's still a really fun way of experiencing Night City. Next up, if you're more into Superman, then Spider-Man, the free flight mod by Keanu Reeves, is one you really need to check out. In short, it gives you the power of flight and lets you zoom across the city. You could use this to get around, but other players like it because it lets you get out of bad situations. Like say you get trapped in a wall, you can use the no clip feature and get yourself right out of it by turning off collision detection. Or if there's a locked door, you can get right on the other side of it with this mod. It's kind of cheating, but hey, the game's been out almost 2 years. Do what you want with it. Or you could use it to fly to the top of a building you would never normally be able to get up to and get a great new view of the city. And from up here you can go into photo mode and take some pics. Photo mode, by the way, is way better than it was at launch. You've got more poses to pick from, you got more poses to pick from, you've got props to pick from, you can switch in different characters, so definitely make sure to check out the photo mode. But as I say, mods are just one reason Cyberpunk is massively improved in 2022. If you're playing on console though, you've still got the content updates, the patches, and the hot fixes that add new mechanics and make the game way more stable. Whether that's adding new character customization options, new apartments, changing the driving model, and all that sort of good stuff. It does take a fair few months between each update, but they always deliver when they get here. So yeah, those were 9 improvements to Cyberpunk in 2022. I don't know, let me know what you think of the game right now, guys. Have you bought it, or are you still trying to make a decision on whether it's a good game? Or maybe you've even tried everything you've seen in this video and it's still not fulfilling its full potential. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I would love to hear what you think of the game. Don't forget to give the video a like, I would massively appreciate that. And for more videos like this one, subscribe to the channel. See ya!